Resilient Georgia defines resilience as the ability to overcome adversity. Historical Heroes features people from the past who cope with setbacks to reach their goals. This is Dom from the Gwinnett County Public Library, and today, Historical Heroes will spotlight the resilience of Marshall W. Major Taylor from his childhood experiences to becoming the first African American world champion cyclist. Marshall W. Major Taylor was born in Indianapolis, Indiana on November 26, 1878, to Gilbert and Sophronia Taylor. He was one of 8 children, 3 boys and 5 girls. His father was a Civil War veteran, and according to a biography of Taylor called The World's Fastest Man, The Extraordinary Life of Cyclist Major Taylor, America's First Black Sports Hero, by Michael Cranish, Gilbert served in Company A of the 122nd U.S. Colored Troops. Much like the troops in this image, Gilbert was proud of his service in the military, and his uniform may have been why Marshall wore one later on that earned him the nickname Major. To build resilience in a child, it is important to build connections. According to an article titled Major Taylor, The Early Years by Buck Peacock, the author mentions how Taylor's father influenced his determination with the way he navigated from the Civil War to reestablishing his family out of Kentucky and into Indiana. The 7 building blocks of resilience are competence, confidence, connection, character, contribution, coping, and control, which Taylor built through connections with his family, his religion, his mentors, his friends, and himself. When Taylor was 8 years old, he said his father worked as a coachman for the wealthy railroad superintendent Albert Southard and his family. Taylor would accompany his father to the Southard home and soon became friends with their son Dan. The two were inseparable, and Taylor was soon employed as Dan's friend and lived in the household with the same privileges and education as Dan. One drawback Taylor mentions in his autobiography is when Dan and his friends went to exercise at the YMCA. Taylor was not allowed in because he was black. He describes this as his first experience with prejudice. The parents of his friends tried to gain him access, but even their prominence would not open that door for him. Unfortunately, the Southern family moved to Chicago after a few years, but Taylor's family could not bear letting him go with them. Knowing that Taylor loved riding Dan's bicycle, Dan saw to it that he got one of his own before the family moved away. Taylor recounts that after the Southern family moved away, he went from a millionaire kid to a common errand boy in just a few weeks. The bicycle was reaching its height of popularity, so he found purpose in teaching himself how to do tricks with the bike Dan had obtained for him. He spent long hours practicing them and attributes this perseverance as a skill that helps him in his future racing career. When the bicycle needs some repairs, he brings it to Hay and Willett's bicycle shop and catches the eye of Mr. Hay himself when he hops on the bike using one of his tricks. Hay offers him a job sweeping and trick riding in front of the store to lure in customers. He wears a uniform while performing the bicycle tricks and earns the nickname Major. While working, he admires the gold medal in the display window that was advertising Indianapolis's big upcoming sporting event, the 10-mile race. On the day of the 10-mile race, Taylor said for entertainment and a laugh, Hay told him he had to start the race. Taylor was petrified and refused, but Hay dragged him to the starting line and told him he would have a head start. He also told Taylor that he knew he could not finish the race, so all he had to do was turn back once he got too tired. When faced with adversity, Taylor was compelled to prove that he could accomplish the goal at hand, and if someone had faith that he could accomplish the goal, he was compelled to show them that they were right. Even though he rode many miles a day on his bicycle, this was the first time he'd gone so far so fast, and he was determined to finish. In the end, he won the race and collapsed at the finish line, but was elated to earn that gold medal he so admired. According to Cranish, Taylor leaves Hay and Willett's and gains employment at the H.T. Hearsey bike shop giving riding lessons. Taylor meets former racing champion Louis Bertie Munger, who was retired from racing and running a bicycle manufacturing business in Indianapolis. Munger had heard of Taylor and saw his bicycle tricks at the store. He wanted Taylor to try out his lightweight bicycle. Seeing true champion potential in Taylor, Munger offered him a job as a jack-of-all-trades. Soon after, Taylor was gifted the 14-pound bicycle, and he spent more time at the track than on the jobs he was hired for. Munger saw that Taylor had come close to a world record with his speed and lightweight bicycle, and that was the start of Taylor's road to becoming a professional cyclist. Taylor's smaller frame allowed him to maintain an aerodynamic racing posture and helped give him his speed. Fitting his bike with handlebars that extended over the wheel allowed him to tuck in his elbows and lean over the handlebars, keeping his back flat. This posture helped him cut headwinds that would slow down his more upright and larger competitors. As a protege and employee of Munger's, Taylor got to meet his bicycle racing idol, Arthur Zimmerman, when he was in town and a house guest of Munger. Taylor was so elated and grateful that someone of Zimmerman's stature was also kind. In Taylor's autobiography, Munger announced to his guest that he was going to make a champion out of Taylor someday. Taylor tells the men that he wants to be a black Zimmerman. Zimmerman took an interest in Taylor's professional racing career and would later give Taylor advice at a race about where he should start his jump to take the lead, which Taylor credits to getting him into a good spot to win the race. Although he had the backing of the bicycle racing governing body, the League of American Wheelmen, to enter professional races, they would not allow him to be a member. This stance allowed promoters and track owners to not let Taylor compete, and they also did not protect him from the violence. He moved to Worcester, Massachusetts with Bertie Munger and immediately felt more welcome. Unfortunately, he was banned from racing in the South, and some races in the North and Midwest may have allowed him entrance, but the hotels and restaurants did not. In 1898, Taylor was almost shut out of winning the American Sprint Championship honors due to not being able to compete in the South and for not showing up for a race in Camp Girardeau when he went back to Worcester after he was not allowed to stay in the area's hotel as promised. He was named the American Sprint Champion based on the times for races he was able to complete, but others contested his title. He was determined to claim the honor in 1899 and focused on breaking world records so that when he did win, it would be by such a large margin there would be no room for doubt. He held 7 world records before the World Championship races of that year. Taylor faced a lot of challenges from other riders. Their unfair and dirty tactics to keep him from competing involved running him off the track, tossing him from his bike, pocketing him in so he could not make a break for the lead, taunting him, using racial slurs, and threatening to kill him. Most notably, W.E. Becker nearly killed Taylor at the end of a race in Massachusetts. Just after crossing the finish line, Tom Butler in first, Taylor second, and Becker third. Becker rolled up and threw Taylor to the ground and choked him until he lost consciousness. Taylor said Becker claimed he had crowded him into the fence. Becker was disqualified, and the officials ordered the race to be rerun, but Taylor was in no shape to do so. Whenever he would compete against racers like Tom and Nat Butler, Eddie Cannonbald, and Floyd McFarland, they would gang up on him to keep him from getting the lead. Taylor developed his own way of getting out of jams that is credited to his competence and trick riding abilities. To pocket him on the track, usually one rider would get ahead of him, one on the outside, and one behind. Taylor sometimes managed to tap the wheel of the rider in front of him, which scared the rider on the right, and they would move wide to avoid a collision, which would open up enough space for Taylor to scoot through and make his break for the lead. The 1899 ICA World Championships were held in Montreal, Canada, over the course of a few days in August. Taylor was competing for the world title in the 1 mile and recounts having a reserve of energy for the final sprint. Taylor was battling the Butler brothers coming down the home stretch in an even line, so there would be no doubt who was the winner when they reached the tape. Taylor reports crossing the tape a full length ahead of Tom Butler to claim victory. On August 10, 1899, Taylor became the first African-American world champion cyclist in the 1 mile. He was so happy to make Louis Munger's prophecy of making him the fastest man in the world come true. Taylor would go on to race in Europe and Australia until retirement in 1910. Although some stated facts differ among resources, the following titles were used for this program: The Fastest Bicycle Rider in the World, The Story of a Colored Boy's Indomitable Courage and Success Against Great Odds by Marshall W. Major Taylor, and The World's Fastest Man, The Extraordinary Life of Cyclist Major Taylor, America's First Black Sports Hero by Michael Cranish. To learn more about Marshall W. Major Taylor, there are many articles, websites, and documentaries available on the internet. Thank you for watching.